of the day is, how much money does it take for you to be happy? There's a lot of sayings that money doesn't buy happiness, and being rich isn't going to change your life. And I want to challenge those assumptions. I want to come at it from a different tact, because we know the lack of money causes unhappiness. If your rent needs to be paid and you don't have the money, you're very unhappy. If your car note needs to be paid and you don't have the money, you're very unhappy. If you need to pay some bills and you don't have the money, you're very unhappy. So the lack of money causes a great deal of unhappiness. So why does having money not bring happiness? So I got a question for y'all. How many of you have ever thought about how much money you needed to be happy? Have you ever asked yourself, how much money do you want? First of all, let's go start at the beginning. How many of you have sat down and said, I want to make X amount of money? You can do that. You can sit down and say, I want to make $250,000 a year. I remember the first time I did this exercise, because I was going back to Brian Tracy's teachings. Was working, because this was after I left Rent a Crate, and I had a very high commission structure. So I wrote on an index card, I wanted to make $350,000. I wrote down an index card, and I would look at this index card every day. From the time I wrote that down to the time, it took me 18 months to get there. Now, one of the things is you got to set goals. You have to set goals. And one of the things that happens is many people are unaware that they can make these kind of choices. Because if you're hanging around the wrong crowd and you're thinking like this, typically people will say that you're trying to be better than other people, because essentially you're trying to better yourself. You're trying to aim high so you can live a life of ease, of more ease and comfort. And this is one of the things that is very, very intriguing. So, question: how much money do you need to be happy? Question: have you sat down and thought about it? Question: what is your income goal for this year? Have you thought about it? Have you written it down? Do you have a vehicle to help you get there? Because this is another thing that is bad, in my opinion, that people do. They say, I'm going to be a millionaire. There's no plan. There's no methodology. There's nothing to make that statement come true. If you say, I want to be a millionaire, and how I'm going to get there, well, if you say, I want to have a net worth of $3 million by the time I'm a certain age, what I'm going to do to get there is buy real estate. I'm going to invest in real estate, or I'm going to invest in the stock market, or I'm going to start a business. You got to be very specific with your goals. You got to be very clear. All right. Rod Smith, I don't believe 75K is the happy. I don't believe that study. You got to look at when that study was done. That study was done many, many years ago when 75,000 was worth more than it is now. For me, when I started to have more contentment in life, I was at about 120, about 120, 150. And essentially, for me, as a person who doesn't have a lot of crazy wants and desires, that was more than enough money to pay the bills, get everything that I wanted, and still have money in the bank. I think that's where the happiness starts, when you can pay all of your obligations easily and have additional money in the bank. I think that is a big, big part of being happy. Because if, knowing that you could take care of yourself, take care of your obligations. Will Melvin, I haven't done it in a while, but I got the amount that I wanted to the penny. I should have asked for more money. Will Melvin, that is one of the things that I experienced, because when I got it and it happened quicker than I thought, I was like, I should have aimed for higher money. And at that moment, I reset my goal. Antonio Williams, need 100,000 a month for life. Silver New Jack, I'm happy with the money that I make. I just work and replace it with money and making my side business so I can have more free time. So let's start talking about lifestyle. How many of you have said, I want to live this kind of lifestyle? Most people have never asked themselves or decided that they wanted to live a certain lifestyle. This is kind of crazy, but there was this chick who pretended to be a rich socialite, and she went to jail for this. She was able to convince a bank to give her $100,000 on false documents, and she was walking around like a baller, staying in these fancy hotels. She had a plan. She was a dishonest person, but she had a plan, and I'm amazed at how far she got. It was crazy. And that just shows you the importance of having a plan. When you have a plan, because like I said, she was a criminal, she conned people out of money, but she got very, very far because she had a plan. So, I mean, like, when I got out of the storage unit, let me tell you what happened to me. When I got out of the storage auction business, I was healing up, and this is funny how I went back to one of my first loves, which was reading and writing. I used to love books as a kid and as an adult. So that's essentially what I went back to. And one of the happiest moments of my life was when I wrote Making Money A to Z with Self-Storage Unit Auctions. I wanted to write a relationship book, but halfway through the project, I realized that I did not want to be the relationship book guy, because I saw what was happening. This was when Steve Harvey's book had came out. Hill Harper had a book out, and there was another guy with dreadlocks. He had a book out, and all these relationship books. And I noticed they had a lot of these guys on the panel, and I didn't like the look. I did not like the look. And my book wasn't going to be anything like their book, because I was interviewing women and I was getting the truth out of these women, and the book was going to have the truth. I remember talking to this woman, and she just confessed that she had been cheating on her husband ever since she'd been married. her husband was a good provider. His sex game was weak, and she was just like, she seemed relieved to get that off of her shoulders. So happiness comes from doing. Happiness doesn't come from being. Happiness comes from doing. So what are you doing to make yourself happy? Thank you, Mika Long, for the $2 super chat. What's up? What's up? So who here has actually thought about these things? How much money do I want to make per year? What kind of lifestyle that I want to live? Where do I want to live? Do I want to get married? Candy, goods, and games, the freedom to do whatever I want. Now, you got to define that, because that's too broad. Whenever you get into whatever, what I can get, you got to be very specific with the setting of your monetary goals and the setting of your lifestyle goals. Because, once you put a definite container around it, it's easier to set up. Money Mike, 10 million net worth by 55. Yes. And 1 million gross by the end of the year. That's a pretty good goal. Because essentially, to be considered wealthy in the United States of America, you need a net worth of 10 million and you need an annual income over 7 figures to be, considered wealthy. That gets you in there, because $1 million, I'm a millionaire. I'm worth $1.5 million. A lot of that money's in your house. It's illiquid. That's kind of to me it's true wealth, but it's not liquid wealth. And liquid wealth is a very important thing. So if you're just joining us, how much money does it take you to be happy? Because this gets to be a very interesting question. Tiger Shark Studios, how much money does it take you to be happy? Because once we get into the actual numbers, because, like Brian Tracy, some really good products out that I used to listen to, and it was about personal development, increasing your income, and it was actually talking about spelling out how much money you want to make. And also, another thing that you should do is spell out the lifestyle. There are many people who go for the money, get in the industry, and they're working with people or they're serving people they don't like. That makes no sense to me, but a lot of people have done that. Like a lot of these Real House of Atlanta housewives, which really is misformed, because none of those chicks are married. Very few, most of them aren't married. It's real funny. DFS Kingdom, 10K a month, because I live in the South. Tony Williams, thought about this for a long time, but thinking and making it your lifestyle are two different things. Absolutely. Because there's the thought process and then there's the action component. When you add action to the thought component, holy moly, it is a big deal. I would be happy matching my salary whilst doing my own thing. Money. I calculated to 10K a month. $10,000 a month for most people is life-changing money. So, because one of the exercises you should do is look at how much the lifestyle that you potentially want to live, how much it cost. Because for me, it was super easy because my biggest thing was freedom. I knew that having a big, booming business was not going to allow me to be free for a while because you got to hire the right people, you got to train them, and you got to make sure they're doing the right things. And only when you have the right people in the right positions will the company grow without you. And that is a challenge to do. Derek Cooper, 10K a month now and 25K a month in time. So, because, I put this question on my Facebook page, and, it's interesting how I could put up something scandalous and get a lot of responses. And then I put up a question like that and I get one or two responses. Let me see. Where am I? Let's see what's happening. Let's see what's going on there. Got more responses than I thought. We got AC to be happy. I guess 6 figures is plenty. By retire like to need 7 million. Morales, all I need is a road. Okay. Obed Muhammad, 10 billion. George Bush Jr., hard to put a number on. Financial security, of course, but it's more important to make it on my own efforts and teach my kids how, plus a few people in the community, feed their families. That's where I think I'll find the happiness. It's very interesting because essentially, when you start talking about money and happiness, people who know that they will never make a lot of money will enter in the conversation and they'll like, well, that isn't true. And you can be very happy if you're doing what you want to do in life. And what I see is it takes economics for most people in these United States of America to do what they want to do, to live how they want to live, to have the lifestyle that they want to have. It takes money. It takes economics. That's how I see it. Sean Harris, 20 million, maybe I have children. Once again, this is a very interesting question because when you ask someone this question, their fantasies kind of merge with their reality, runs away from reality because you don't even have to be a millionaire to raise kids. I would say if you're making 80 to 90K, you can provide for those kids pretty easily. But if you want to build a legacy and generational wealth, you're going to need a device to do that. You're going to need some kind of economic device. Incur the $6,000 per month in Louisiana's. Why everyone like? That's funny. The better I've gotten with numbers and communication, I've increased my progress. Will Melvin, I'd be happy with 10 to 15K a month coming in via passive real estate. Being the bartender. Target ship. This question is always thought provoking. As you think about it, you realize that you waste a lot of money on crap every day. Money is a facilitator. Money is definitely a facilitator because this is one of the reasons I teach what I teach. I believe that everyone can get to 6 figures in today's world. There is so much opportunity with the internet, with these apps, with everybody could be doing six figures. And, this is why I've come up with the money course. Get your basic finances in order, manage the money you make very well, and make more money. And then the magic begins to happen. And then you're able to do so many different things. Silver New Jack, I make 15, 20K a month now, but I'm one busy mofo. I will be happier when I have more free time. You got to build that into the equation. Here's the lifestyle question once again. Let's see. Let me see if I can find this. Built. Can't find it. There's this couple. I read this in Inc. magazine a long time ago. They built this bread company, but they like to travel. Let me see if I can find it. Oh man, Laura and Pete Wakeman, Great Harvest Bread. I have a good memory, man. So Laura and Pete Wakeman, Great Harvest Bread. We should all know better by now, but still the myth of the entrepreneur type lives on. It comes matched with the ideal that building the company is above all else about individual drive, monomania, and kicking relentless ass, including no, especially your own. Hence, the only true entrepreneur that goes to myth is the one willing to pay the price, take the pain, set life aside, sacrifice all for the goal. The only true and admirable entrepreneur is well a little crazy. Then you meet Laura and Pete Wakeman. By an description other than the mythological one, the Wakemans are as entrepreneurs you can get. For most of the past 25 years, they've owned and ran a growing collection of whole wheat bakeries called Great Harvest Bread Company. They began in the 70s as kids just out of college, newly married and newly moved to the Northeast, till they suddenly adopted new home state, Montana. They grew the business slowly but steadily, organically. Eventually, they expanded by franchising because people asked. By the 90s, they had gradually turned their network of nationwide stores into grassroots examples of learning organization the big company consultants evangelized but rarely found. And in 2001, with 140 stores in operations, they finally sold Great Harvest for cash. Still, their Great Harvest stewardship lasted a quarter century in long run. It was a successful both financially and strategically. But what matters about the Wakemans was ultimately they had to do with neither money nor management. It has to do with art. And the too often overlooked reason that most company builders start building their companies in the first place, which is to get the life that they want, to live in a way that will make them fulfilled and secure, to be happy. This is what the Wakemans accomplished. While growing the company, they simultaneously pioneered the art of keeping life in balance and making entrepreneurship a sustainable instead of personally depleting pursuit. The art of the long run. Not their way is the only way. The Wakemans are quick to point out, which is why this is art, not science. For one thing, their particular way meant leaving town regularly. For the start, the couple typically spent 1 to 3 months a year away from their business to travel and chase other interests. This was one of the reasons Laura Wakeman says we were still fresh after 24 years and we still love our business. How many owners can say that? So they would routinely go away for a month up to 3 months away from their business and it still grow. So it still grew. So one of the things is you've got to bake that into the business model. And this is one of the things I see a lot of these internet entrepreneurs are doing is they're building businesses that support their lifestyle versus just, hey, how much money does that make? They're not doing that. So this, if you build a business, like my business is built to support the life that I want. So this is why I've been doing YouTube for 10 years. It's I can do YouTube another 10 years. Just to think about it, a 20-year-old YouTube channel. That's pretty interesting. But a big part of this is how you build whatever you're building. Just got to 4K a month. Next stop is 8K. Man, you go deep. $1 million a year minus taxes, child support, and only working 30 hours a week. You're going deep there. So there is a way to build a business and still have a life. Now, depending upon what type of business that you're suited for. There's some businesses that won't work, and there are some businesses that will work. And that child support ain't no joke. I really wish they would do away with that because you know what? When single fathers don't have money to pay child support, we put them in jail. When single mothers don't have money to support their kids, we give them welfare. Based upon that construct, I don't think anyone should ever go to jail for child support. Just my 2 cents, my commentary. But this is one of the reasons that I quit the storage auction business, the reseller. When I first started on YouTube, I was selling to people in the resale community, storage auctions, eBay, Amazon. And as my fame and reach grew, I started to get a lot of hate, a ton of hate. And I started to not like the community because I would have folks who would leave these comments on this channel. Hey man, I'm not gonna spend any money and buy your products, but I'm just get your free information. What kind of jackrabbit does stuff like that? A hater. And it was really interesting now that I look back upon it because I used to love resale. There is nothing that puts some jazz in your pants like buying something for $1 and selling it for $2 to $3 to $4 to $500. Nothing is that. That is just so awesome. And as I used to love this and I used to live this and I used to breathe it, I had many people, because I was talking about it from an instructional standpoint, teaching people how to do it, selling courses. I began to hate resellers because there were so many people who had this Bitcoin mentality that I'm going to hit it because, I was very honest that we made our money, which was, we buy a unit and we would make 4 to 10 times our money back. That was the average unit. Get a unit for $100, make 400 to 1,000. That's where we made most of our money. But we had all these people who were like looking for treasure. Like and to a degree, buying storage auctions could be like a modern day treasure hunt, but you're not going to get the good stuff. You're not going to get the Tiffany clocks or the Franklin Mint collectibles. You're not going to get that every month. you know, you're just not. And the more units you buy, the luckier you become. And that's how I told people. And I had people, when I would talk about the wonderful finds I have, there was a lot of jealousy, there was a lot of animosity, yet I was just doing my thing. But I began to hate the resale community. I began to hate the way that many people thought. I began to hate their cheap ways. And this is why I left the resale community. I took my ball and went home. I gave my Facebook group, I had the resale, I gave it to one of the members, and I got out. And that's when I started to focus on how to build a business. And that's one of the things that I feel that I don't have horrible days. I don't have days I don't want to come to work because I'm not doing something I don't want to do. So I think that's a big part of doing what you need to do. Yeah, you have to resell nearly 25 hours a day. Wow, Sapering, you've got a different. I'm a single dad of two kids, and both my baby mamas pay child support. I don't need the money at all, but it's dope to put it up for the kids. That's very interesting how men look at getting child support and women look at getting child support. A lot of men is I just put that money away for the kids. I really don't need that. A lot of women like, I need that. I need that. That's very interesting. Yep, Matthew Lee, they want to hit the Grand Sam. Been the bartender. Some folks want everything for nothing. When it's not funny, the money don't add up sometimes. It's like it's bad for your health. This is why I say think of a life plan and a business plan at the same time. You got too many people out here who are just getting into something for the money, and later on down the road, they end up hating it. And then, like some people who get into acting, and then after they get into business, they can't stand the business, they quit. And then, they got everyone looking at them like, how could you leave all that money along? And it's like, I hated doing what I was doing. You know, um, Having that situation where you hate going to work, and I've had that feeling, I've had that frustration once in my life, and I got rid of it. Tiger Shot. So I'm glad you're doing well. Both you and Abdul, how to find your passion now. Yeah, because one of the things that about the thanks for wishing me well. One of the reasons that I was able to bounce back so quickly because I went to my second doctor's appointment, my checkup, and they was like, "You're like a miracle." And I don't think it's a miracle. I think the work that I did before I got ill, because I did have high blood pressure, but I was working out and I was halfway eating correctly. And that matters because when my body went down and it got in recovery mode, I just think that made all the difference in the world. I think that if I wasn't working out, I was still like 330 pounds. I think I probably would have died. And this is one of the things. Recently, it got word to a girl I used to date who was younger than me, but she just had a weight problem. When I was dating her, she was probably the smallest she had ever been, and it just ballooned out of control. She had a stroke roughly around the same time I did, and recently she just passed. And it made me think about life and choices because When you get older, you start looking back at the things you've done. And the more good stuff that you've done, the happier you are, the happier the memories are. Because, like, I'm doing the dominant male course, and this is just flooding my mind with all these wonderful and happy memories and encounters. And you got to live a good life to have a happy life. Yeah, health is wealth. Because, like I said, I saw someone that follows me. He was talking about all these folks who are talking about working, all this time and having heart attacks and stuff. If I had monitored my blood pressure, which was my mistake, my fallacy, I never would have had the heart attack. So that wasn't the hard work and the hours. That wasn't it. It was the lack of monitoring my health. Because once you get a certain age, you could work out and you could do the right things, and heredity. Because if you have a family dynamics of certain health issues, you will still have to get on medication, even though you were eating right and working out, because from a genetic standpoint, your body's out to get you. And that's why I say, don't just start something, don't get into something because of the money, because if you don't like that business, at some point it's going to catch up with you. Wow, 285 property. I didn't know that. And this is my third health crisis. This is the second time that I'm almost died. And, you know, when I was recovering, because, as I was coming back, because I was having memory problems, because I had a stroke as well. As I was coming back, I was able to come back in a lap of luxury. And I'm gonna tell you, it makes a difference when you don't have to worry about the bills being paid. You don't have to worry about your credit card being paid. You don't have to worry about car notes and stuff. I didn't have any of those worries. Well, my biggest worry was getting better. And many people, I know this from working in a hospital, they got to combat the disease, the healthcare crisis, and life. Because there are many people, if what happened to me had happened to them, they may be up in bankruptcy court, because I couldn't work. I couldn't do what I was doing. And once again, this is about designing your own economy, because this enabled me to do so many things. It really made a difference. So I urge you, good people, to actually think about what type of lifestyle that you want to live. Rod Smith being miserable every day is literally killing people. Yeah, it is. Because people will go for the money. Like, look at Little Kim. I mean, this is a sad example. I mean, this is in entertainment, there's this thing that's called a thirst. Once you get, I mean, I don't know what it's like to be on stage and have thousands of people cheering for me, singing my songs. That's got to be an incredible feeling. And you get many of these artists, once they start to fall off, they start doing crazy stuff to keep that. Like this thing with Lil Kim. I mean, you just see the craziness that has happened with her. And you're seeing this impacting young women on Instagram. You see, I mean, that thirst ain't no joke. And she's trying to cling on to that. And that's a whole nother level of success. That is unprecedented. Because, I don't know if with my personality, would I ever want to be an entertainer? I like what I do now. I like the feedback. I like the vibe of being a teacher and a trainer and a course creator. I love that. And I love getting these messages. Man, I've been watching you for a few months and it's changed my life. I've taken a few courses and it's changed my life. I love that stuff. And that's something that, based upon the way that I've designed my life, I can keep going um, for a long time. 285 property, true, Ross Smith. When you chase dollars, you usually lose who you are. Cat lady. Watching you from Belize. What's up, Erica, down there in Belize? I hear it's hot down there. Sadly, Lil Kim gets 40K a month in residual income, but spends 50K a month. A judge got to her. She has a daughter. That's the scary part. I didn't know that. Antonio Williams, thinking about paying my rent up 4 months to set myself up to pay for a year after that so my income can profit to fuel my next venture. Oh, that's a good way to be, man. So, the whole thing with Little Kim. But, once you design your life, because this is where the happiness comes from. What makes you happy? Because, I see a lot of YouTube channels where I see men just kind of sitting around joking and they hanging out. And to me, that looks shiftless. But then again, if I think from their standpoint, that may make them happy because I'm a very efficient, very productive person. Oh, she just had a kid, Erica. Her late age pregnancy made her go on the surgery bench. Now she's touring again. Once you get that thirst, man, you just can't leave it. Um, that is a hard, hard thing to let go of. That's such a hard thing to let go of. But what we're talking about here is designing your life. A lot of people think that this stuff, I'm just talking, but this is from experience because when you design a life, you have the life that you want. That brings happiness. Happiness comes from doing what you want to do, doing what makes you happy. But a lot of people don't know what makes them happy because they've never actually asked themselves that question. They're scared to say money, cars, holes, clothes, and holes and truth. So it's kind of like there's the simple man, channel the influence frame. This is for the advanced man. But the simple man, this one guy is like he won the lottery. They say, "Oh, I'm gonna blow it on hookers and blow." That's a very simple man. Essentially, if that's the first thing that comes to your mind, that means that you haven't worked on yourself. You're not having sex with the women you want to have sex with, and you see this opportunity, this money is an opportunity for you to live that grand life for a minute. We all have different levels of happy. I would say definitely because I remember that day I wrote my first book and I got the galley back. The sheer joy that washed over my body. But once again, happiness comes from doing things, not just sitting around, laying around doing nothing. I don't really think nothing of the Cam Newton story. I mean, dude lost out on $1,500. It happens. Been the bartender, or they have to work so much they never got time to know what makes them happy. That is could be something. That's why I say, I speak to my young men, get started on this stuff when you're a teenager, because being a teenager, those are precious golden years. You should be having fun, you should be exploring, you should be learning, you should be experimenting. But also, due to the internet, this is the time that you can start building your fortune. What's the life you wanted? First of all, there was two transitions. When I was in the storage auction business, I loved, loved, loved storage auctions. It was like getting a little dopamine high for buying a unit, because you would buy a unit and you would get this rush of emotion and stuff, and you'd be bidding. That was so much fun. Until I got sick, I never thought I was going to leave that. So one of the things you have to do is when your current set of situation changes, you have to dream new goals. So as I was recovering, I was like, I want to be a writer. I got enough, I actually planned this out. I said, I got enough hustle skills that I don't need to quote make a lot of money writing. This was actually the plan in my head. So I'm gonna write this book, make $50,000 a year, and hustle on the side for the rest of the money. And I gave myself 2 years to make it work. It worked in 11 months. And then when the money started rolling in, then I decided to expand the Craigslist protocols. I was, I was like a gigolo. I mean, it was like crazy. And that was so much fun. That was so much fun. But one of the things is I don't want to be a public speaker. So this is why I haven't set myself up to be going and affiliating and on stage and doing these talks and stuff, because that's not what I really wanted. My ultimate goal was to make a lot of money and work from home, which is what I do. That was the ultimate goal, because I hate traffic with a passion. Like, I hate traffic like you wouldn't believe. And now the new thing is I've achieved all this. Now the next thing I want to do is build these online universities in the next 10 years. That's the next set of goals. 285 property. Most lottery winners are uneducated about financial means because, like, these people who win these crazy sums of money, like $300 million after taxes, you could just take 250 million and put that in real estate, and you get paid every month for the rest of your life, and you could blow 100 million and still, they just don't understand what they got. Matthew Lee, the man you become in attaining your goal is more important than the money and stuff you get. Yeah, because the thing is, personal happiness comes from doing what you want to do. So I have accomplished virtually all of the goals that I wanted to accomplish. So I had to set some new goals. I had to, the heart attack was a moment to sit down and gain some more clarity because I am 52 years old. And the next 10 years, it's all about creating assets, more assets, because I got, a fairly lucrative asset business, but I need some more passive income. And that's what I'm going to be working on for the next 10 years, which means I'm going to crank up the training. Like the Dominant Man course is going very well. I've had a lot of good responses from that. And, to be a resource for men, because a lot of people were really sad when Disruptive Male shut down, but once again, the haters on YouTube, because once again, if you're not talking red pill or MGTOW stuff, people will come at you. Like I had this fool who the other day, he did a video, and I got arrested for not getting my business license for a building I moved out of 2 years prior. So he had the mug shot and all this stuff up. And this is essentially anyone who is not as successful as me, how they attempt to bring me down. But it was really interesting in the comments because a lot of people was like, Glendon's right. And this isn't what, because as much as he tried to, a lot of people like, with Bitcoin, it crashes. It goes up and it crashes. It's not dependable. Why are you going to put your money in that? Because when you start a business and you get some traction, that's way more dependable than Bitcoin. You got people out here who are starting businesses who are becoming billionaires for providing a service or a product. Uber, the guy who started Uber, how old is Uber? When was Uber founded? Travis Kalanick became a billionaire in less than 10 years, founding Uber. He became a billionaire. Let's look at this. Uber Technologies. Founded March 2009, 10 years ago. As of 2019, Uber's estimated to have 110 million world users. That's crazy. Travis is worth $5.2 billion in less than 10 years from scratch. That kind of blows Bitcoin out the water. See, this is the reason that I'm really against Bitcoin, because it is such a hot button topic and it's such a distraction that if you are a business owner, if you're focused on you, because Bitcoin's going to pull your attention away from your business. Because it's like, man, what if I can, like, blow up on this Bitcoin millionaire status, right? The ship has sailed. Like, the people who bought their Bitcoin early, like I did, are rolling out of control. Man, honestly, I wish I had spent $1,000, $2,000 on Bitcoin when I bought my Bitcoin. All those years ago. I wish I had bought more. Lesson learned. But starting a business is more profitable than messing around with some cryptocurrency. I'm like, and every time, in the Jack Wagon who did the video, he still didn't answer the question, how much money had he made off Bitcoin? And the Jack Wagon, he also stated that, I followed your advice by not buying Bitcoin. If I had bought some Bitcoin, I'd be on the profit side. I'm like, wait a minute. Did you follow my advice? Did you start a business? He didn't respond to that. People want to take the path of least resistance. This is where the problems start. Eric Williams, only seen one group do well. It was an office of accountants did lottery numbers on the bet from office of one, I think Ohio Wilson. Surgery and heartaches are life lessons. Definitely. I see profits, and the difference is adding versus multiplying. Lottery winners only know how to add and subtract. Wealthy multiply. Oh, character assassination all day long. Matthew Lee, building a business is a skill set. Rinse, wash, repeat. Capitalizing on one trend with Bitcoin is called luck. Oh, Matthew Lee, Bill Gates said success is a lousy teacher. It makes smart people think they cannot fail. Ain't that the truth? Quinn Jackson, my ex looked you up and found the mugshot and showed it to me. I knew she was trying to defame your character in my eyes, but I showed her videos you did talking about the situation. Because, that's what every low intellect, low person goes for. And in the mugshot, it says failure to appear. I don't have a prison record. I've never been to prison in my life. And it's interesting. Gwen Jackson, your ex was a hater. She was a mad hater because more than likely, because of the information that I provided to you, made you realize that she wasn't the woman that you needed in her life. And typically, when a guy starts watching me and he starts listening to the philosophy and his girlfriend gets nervous, it knows that her situation is temporary. Bitcoin is like buying a scratch off. Being the bartender, when you put money in Bitcoin, your money is gone and you can't directly affect the outcome. It is in business. You can directly affect the outcome. Exactly. And he probably created Uber because he had to wait too long for a cab when he was poor and unknown. It was really, Uber was a side project. They were working on something else. But Travis Kalanick became a billionaire in less than a decade. And this is the world that we live in. We live in this world of so much possibility and awesome. You've got teenagers who are millionaires from their YouTube channel, their Instagram. There is so much money out here, and there's some money out here with your name on it. If you let the Bitcoin go. because I will keep slamming Bitcoin. I don't care if the Bitcoin goes up to 100,000. And there's another guy on YouTube, on Facebook. He says he will bet $50,000 if people put up reasonable odds of Bitcoin going to 100K. No path is easy, and many paths are yet to be made. Exactly. Man, she was a super hater. He needs to start a business. You know, he's already in the system, Gabran. Michigan Stone and Surface Care. I cashed out my 90,000 401k after I quit my job 2 years ago. I started a carpet cleaning company. Now I clean offices and restaurants on the side. Now I make between $6,000 and $8,000 part time. Congratulations. Congratulations. Making that money. I see profits. That's hilarious. But once again, you cannot dissuade me from, because this is the situation. I look at all the people who are buying Bitcoin, and I look at my personal situation. I got more money than they do. So why am I going to listen to someone who doesn't have as much money? That makes no sense. It's like, oh, okay, like, so I should take this money and throw it in Bitcoin and hope and pray that it goes up so I can sell it to some more suckers. Opulence is excellence. Travis Cadillac said there's the same number of cab drivers in New York since like the 70s, and the population has tripled since then. He was willing to solve a problem. Wow, I did not know that. I mean, Uber, I hate taking cabs. I will only take a cab if I'm forced to, because what they're doing at the airports is they got an Uber lot where they can pick you up, which is usually hella inconvenient. And sometimes, you'll be forced to take a cab. I will only take a cab if I'm forced to do so. But I will take an Uber in a heartbeat. Like Uber has literally changed the world. Every time I mention Bitcoin, I remind them personally seeing G cash out of Bitcoin as absolute peak number. I think it'll probably get back to that and it'll crash again. People are just trying to get that money. Because, one of the big things about a life of intent and design, you have the power to say, this is the type of life that I want. You just got to make a decision. And that's where things get tricky for a lot of people. They don't want to make a decision. Michigan Stone and Surface, focus on your next 100 before you look too high on the billions. As I always say, you got to make your first dollar before you make your first million. And you got people who are not focusing on those first dollars. Louis the Seller, there's been a lot of yellow cab drivers in NYC that have committed suicide because of the dominance of Uber. It's run their life. Wow. Get another job, bruh. Shout out to all the Uber drivers out there. I love myself for some Uber. I actually drove for Uber for a short time and to write my book about it, and also to experiment, because people is like, yeah, Uber is just a hustle, or it can become a job if you want it to become one, but you're not going to get rich. Morning Blue, geez, just go drive for Uber. Yellow cab medallion on the owners are underwater. That's just crazy, man. I do Uber Eats on the bicycle, man. You crazy. Uber has changed the world. And essentially, let's look at what Uber did. It made getting a cab cell phone easy. Because before Uber, if you called a cab, you had to wonder if the cab was going to show up. You had to wonder. You didn't know when the cab was coming or if the cab was coming. You didn't know this. And Uber got rid of that because, the guy, when they did the Uber Black, he said, let me show you a baller move. He pulled out his phone. He called up a car coming. You can see the car coming to you. I mean, it was a brilliant, brilliant concept, brilliant idea. Douglas Jones, yellow cab medallion owners have seen the price of an NYC medallion plummet from 1+ million to less than 200K, and the price will not go back up. That's why they're offering themselves. Dang, man. Uber changed the game. It's not as simple as getting another job. Some people paid up to $1 million for a yellow taxi medallion. That's just crazy. Uber keeps doing what Uber keeps doing, man. All these protests and lawsuits and stuff, it ain't stopped Uber. It hasn't. They keep doing what they're doing. Matthew Lee, the taxi cab drivers invested in the taxi medallion like it was Bitcoin. The cab medallions used to cost, good Lord. That is kind of a very interesting correlation. JW Properties, you need to do some more research. I'm not into trucking. Either way, you can ask Erica or you can watch some of these hot shot trucking channels. I'm a intellectual property online course content creator guy. I'm not into trucking. I like using Uber as belly smelling alternative to a taxi. Sadly, the stereotype is true. We have all kinds of things going on here, man. Douglas, when young cab medallions used to increase consistently, I met a man who purchased medallion in 1946 for 640 and sold it in 1979 for 250. Many of the taxi cab medallions drivers mortgage their homes to buy up a medallion. That sucks. That just sucks. I mean, I'm not going to stop using Uber. I would go years without taking a cab. I might go a month without taking the Uber. Like whenever I have to have my car serviced, that used to be such an exercise because you had to have someone take time off of work and come pick you up. I remember one time my Audi's gas gauge wasn't working and I guesstimated it wrong and I run out of gas. I called the Uber to pick me up and go get some gas. You can't beat Uber. Silver New Jack, I'm learning a lot from you. I will continue to buy courses from you. Your teaching has definitely improved my life and my income organization. I've seen great things for myself flow into the future. Awesome, dude. Awesome. Thank you for that. David Pearson never even took a cab before. Yeah, because you got to do some research. One of the things you got to do If you want to do something like hot shot trucking, there's plenty of channels to watch about that. There are plenty of things that you can learn from. Jugless Jones says, recently as 2000, Uber started in 2009. The price of a yellow cab medallion was consistently appreciating between 3 to 4%, right up to the event of Uber. Go stick with trends. Redbox killed video stores. Hey, yellow cabs, another company hasn't innovated. You know, when I was in London, my Uber wouldn't work over there. I don't know what was going on. $285 property thought Uber would lose in court. Uber's like the honey badger. Honey badger don't care. Just keeps going on doing what they're doing. I mean, you know, if you look at, you know, Gary V, and he talks about this. He says he had an opportunity to invest early in Uber and he didn't. And he said that cost him about $400 million by passing on that. He says, so I'm not as smart as I think I am. So, all right. So I want you guys to think about how much money does it take for you to be happy. And if you want to get on this happiness process development, go below, get your free audio book. Also, there's a pathway of the courses which you take. I'm going to update that as I finish up the Dominant Man. I'm working on that this week. I'm going to work on it next week. And then I'm going to put that out there for offer, you know, the best to get it now before the price increases. And understand that success is a choice. It just doesn't happen. It's a choice. It's an intentional choice. And if you go ahead and say you want your success a certain way here today and begin working on it, in short order, you will get it. All right. So I will see you guys later. Peace. Everything is below the video. The pathway to get the courses is below the video. Which course you should take first, which course you should take second, and so on. So with that, I'll talk